Good day and welcome to the Milton Keynes Business Channel. Thanks for joining us. Today's program is part of our series of educational videos for local businesses, business owners in Milton Keynes in the world of digital marketing and SEO. Today's program, we're looking at Milton Keynes SEO trends in 2025 and how to stay ahead in local search in Milton Keynes. So firstly, I'd like to say SEO isn't dead, it's just evolving. It's constantly changing SEO. What works today may not work tomorrow. It's constantly dynamic. In 2025, I think the big change is really AI. You're starting to see the AI bit suddenly come in right at the top. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a cafe, law firm, or landscaping business in and around Milton Keynes, ranking high on Google can really make or break your business. So the first trend in 2025 in SEO is voice search optimization. It's absolutely booming. A lot of people are now asking Siri, Alexa, and Google Assistant to find local services. Now, this was something that didn't happen prior to 2025. So just bear that in mind when you're building your website. And you can optimize your website for conversational keywords, like the best Italian restaurant near me, the best plumbers in Newport Pagnell. That's the sort of conversational verbatim that your potential customers might ask. So think about including that within the content of your website. So how you can build that into your copywriting strategy will be, for example, to include popular FAQs and natural language in your content. So if two of your potential customers were talking about hiring your business and finding your business, what sort of questions would they be asking each other, and what would those answers be? Include those within your content, and then your content will be findable but in search, more likely to rank in search, and future-proof in terms of people being able to find you through Siri, Alexa, and Google Assistant. So the second trend would be Google Business Profile is king. Never more than ever before has a Google Business Profile been more important. As all this AI content and automation is flooding the internet, Google's getting a lot more stricter and fussier about what it decides to put towards the top, with the Google My Business Profile now taking more prominence than ever before. There's some companies in Milton Keynes that have been working on that for years, hundreds of happy customers in and around town. They've got loads of 5-star reviews. Some of those businesses don't have to spend a penny on marketing because they're just sitting there as a top Google My Business Profile. They get loads of business that way. They don't even need a sales team. They're just number one in Google My Businesses. And a lot of searches now, they don't even go on the paid listings or in the natural rankings. They just look at who's number one on Google My Business, who's got the most 5 stars, and they just engage with them because they're trusting the reviews of their customers rather than trusting the abundance of information that's just around these days. So if you make sure you've got the Google My Business Profile, keep it updated, post offers, make sure all your services on there, get as many reviews as you can. And if you can add more photos, any videos about what you're doing, anything to populate it and keep it interesting, to tell the tale and story about your business, the more likely you are to rank. But ultimately, it's about those reviews on Google My Business. So make sure you get them, as many as you can. Don't fake them because you might get kicked off or penalized. Search trend number 3 in 2025 is AI-driven search results. That's kind of popped up out of nowhere, and that's the AI and machine learning. Google bought AI machine learning back in 2018. It's only now 7 years later, and now we've got like ChatGPT and Quora and Grok over on Twitter. All of these AI packages now coming into the mainstream, and most businesses are using them now. At this point, Google is now putting in that AI bit at the top. That's because Google now only feels it's comfortable enough to understand the context, intent, and quality. But you may have noticed it's not 100% accurate. Like sometimes the factual information in that isn't accurate, but it is now here. and it wasn't here years ago. So what I've learned over this last year, as I've launched my first website in Milton Keynes for local SEO, is getting into that. Our AI space is tough. It took me just over a year to start breaking into that AI space, and basically it's like position one on steroids. Like, for instance, I have an iGaming agency, and I've been working on the keyword casino marketing agency for about 7 months now. And it was only in the last week that I've just broken into there's a short list of about 7 agencies, and I got into there literally earlier this week, a few days ago. And how I've managed to do that is just by securing a few position one spots and just copying what the competitors will do. But do watch out for that AI-driven content, because once you're in there, it's really quite powerful, as you start popping up in ChatGPT as well, completely outside of Google. So if, for instance, one of my potential customers is searching for, they go into ChatGPT and say, what's the best casino marketing agency? Now I'm starting to appear in ChatGPT, which is something completely outside of Google. So the key to getting into the AI spot is being helpful. So addressing the main questions that your customers would ask, and then addressing those. Like, for instance, the main driver, aside from 7 months of hard work, what got me into that position one is I made roughly 50 videos about my business. I found the main questions that my customers were searching, and then I made a video about each one. So I've been pounding away at this keyword for 6 months. At the point that I made 50 helpful videos, i.e. the 50 most popular questions that my customers would ask, put them on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. At that point, I was the most helpful agency in the country. So I popped into the AI space and position one. So it's all about authority and expertise. It's answering the questions that your customers would ask. So if you're a mechanic, how do I restart my car? When do I change my tires? When do I need to get an oil change? Those sort of customers that as a mechanic you might get asked all the time. If you had a video for every question your customer had ever asked, and then you linked that back to your website and put that all over the internet, at that point AI would say, hey, he's the most helpful mechanic in Milton Keynes. Let's put him in the AI space. It's kind of how it works in short. The fourth trend in 2025 in SEO is really mobile first and core web vitals. So mobile search overtook desktop online search not too long ago. So mobile friendly sites are now critical. Years and years ago, 10 or 15, 20 years ago, a mobile friendly site was a luxury, but now it's a necessity. So those old websites that haven't been updated in years, that don't work very well on mobile, they're just tanking in Google. They're losing credibility with Google on a daily basis, whilst those competitors that are paying attention to mobile, they're climbing as the old websites dive. So like websites, the older the website, the worse it ranks, because there's so many new bits of software and new browsers and new devices, new operating systems, that there's thousands of different ways that people can search the internet between all those devices and browsers and systems and Windows 10, 11, 12, whatever. So the websites that function well on all of those systems, they're the ones that do the best in SEO. And finally, local content is king. So if you are a shop in Wolverton and you just want customers from Wolverton, then you need to have the word Wolverton in your website all over the place. You know, if you are a toy shop in Bletchley and you only attract customers in Bletchley, you've got to make sure that you say that you're a toy shop in Bletchley. If you just say you're a toy shop and you don't tell Google you're in Bletchley, then you won't rank. And if you're in Milton Keynes and you deal with all of Milton Keynes, then you need to think about your local SEO in a more granular structure. So you need to think, like, if you're targeting all of MK, you need to think about Wolverton, Leighton Buzzard, Bletchley, surrounding villages like Hanslope, Castlethorpe, Cosgrove, Newton Longville. Newton Lees. You need to think about having the big kind of areas, Newport Pagnell, that are kind of smaller boroughs within Milton Keynes. You need to have those words in your website. So, if you're a posh hairdresser and your haircuts are so good that people would come from anywhere in Milton Keynes, then you need to mention on your website that you serve customers in Newport, Bletchley, Wolverton, the whole sphere of Milton Keynes, and mention those places. Because if people live in Bletchley, then they might specifically be looking for an upmarket or posh hairdresser in Bletchley. So if you mention that in your website, even if you're based over in Wolverton, a 5-10 minute drive away, they might be happy to go over there. But just make sure you mention the local semantics, the different areas. And if you're involved in any local charities or projects or such like in and around town, then mention those on your website, because the more content that you mention that has stuff about Milton Keynes in and the corresponding areas, that will help you rank. So just in summary, the 5 sort of main trends for SEO in 2025 for business owners in MK, UK and beyond: optimize for voice and conversational queries, fully update and maintain your Google My Business profile, write helpful, high quality content. So don't just stuff it with keywords. Google these days is all about helpful content. It's been more turbulent than it's been in years, as all this AI content has been flooding it. I mean, 20 years ago, you'd pop up a page and Google would index 99% of anything you put on the internet very quickly. But now Google's very fussy about what it shows on the internet. You've got robots and automated programs. Like, I think the internet's probably, if you take the internet from 20 years ago, all of the content on it now, that's probably being made once a week, because there's so many websites now and so much automation and AI just writing stuff that Google's really fussy. So the content needs to be high quality, authoritative, unique. Make sure your site's mobile fast and mobile first, and create lots of localized Milton Keynes focused content. So I hope you found that useful. I'll put all of my details below. I have a SEO agency in Milton Keynes, so if you're looking for some expert support or more advice, all of my details are in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Look out for more educational videos in the world of digital marketing and other spheres in Milton Keynes. Got some really interesting guests coming on the channel soon. Thanks very much for your time.